About 2 months has passed since the death of King Vegeta. Now, Frieza and Beerus are training on the God of Destruction's planet. They're both using their full power in base form, although Beerus would soon activate his God of Destruction form, although not at its maximum efficiency, choosing to use more and more power as the fight goes on. That way Frieza can adapt and get more accustomed to the power of a destroyer. They've been doing this for decades, although Beerus really hasn't stepped in to be a teacher for most of that time, rather choosing just to stay asleep or training on his own with Whis. The reason for this sudden decision to be an active member in Frieza's training has come from something the Oracle Fish prophesized. It's said that pretty soon, Beerus will no longer be the God of Destruction for Universe 7. Nothing more, nothing less. And although this was cryptic, Beerus thinks he knows what it means. Frieza is going to step up from God of Destruction candidate to full-blown destroyer. And even though that might not be the case and Zeno just erases everything, deeming Beerus no longer God of Destruction, he can't be sure and expects the former outcome to be the more likely one. So he begins to teach Frieza how to utilize the power of a God of Destruction, such as the Hakai and Hakaishin-like forms, such as Ultra Ego. Although that was more of Vegeta's style, Frieza would instead decide to implement Hakai as more of a boost to his regular Ki Blast. So whenever he uses a Kamehameha, let's say, instead of being the normal blue beam, instead it would be purple and emanating destruction energy. This is mostly that way he can still use the powers of a God of Destruction while in forms such as Ultra Instinct, because he doesn't want to have to limit himself and only use certain powers while using certain transformations. And before any of you ask, he wouldn't be able to make an Ultra Vegito-like form. Sure, he's able to use Ultra Instinct flawlessly, and he can still use the powers of a God of Destruction, although forms such as Ultra Ego just don't really fit him, focusing all of his energy constantly on wanting to destroy and nothing more, as well as keeping a calm mind just isn't really in Frieza's nature. If he wants to destroy something, it's because he's enraged, not because he just wants to do it. So maintaining the Hakaishin form as well as Ultra Instinct at the same time is just impossible for him, even though he can still use Hakai as a technique while using Ultra Instinct. After a while, he would have this dynamic perfectly mastered, and Beerus would ask him if he has any interest in becoming the next God of Destruction, to which Frieza says not really. He understands there's a lot of good he could do, although he'd prefer to just stay as a candidate, rather than holding that title. He'd be lying if he said that he wasn't a little worried on how he would behave given that much authority. He understands how his father and his brother got when they were in positions of power, and he doesn't want to turn out like them. He says that he prefers to be a Supreme Kai, working in the background and bettering the universe in his own way. He really just doesn't want that sort of position. But Beerus tells him that might not be an option, as only a couple days later the Grand Priest arrives on the planet, saying that because of Frieza's astounding work benefiting Universe 7 and raising their mortal level many times over, he's going to become the next God of Destruction. It doesn't matter if he wants to or if he doesn't, this isn't up for debate. Grand Zeno himself wants to see what all good Frieza could do as a destroyer god. And if there's one certain in the Dragon Ball universe, it's that if Zeno wants something, he's going to get it. Frieza has no choice in the matter. But to be fair, Beerus isn't the only person being replaced here, as Whis himself is also getting to go into retirement, as the Angel, although isn't needing to be replaced, does get the opportunity, as Maris is now up for the position. A former angel in training, now full-fledged deity, he's ready to take over for his older brother and give Whis the chance to retire. And seeing as Frieza's about to replace Beerus himself, it only seems fitting. The Supreme Kai candidate known as Kibito is also moving up the ranks, but Shin isn't being replaced or anything. Now this universe just has 2 Supreme Kais rather than the one. When Frieza's coronation to become the new God of Destruction takes place, he'll have his life linked to both Kibito and Shin, meaning if both of them die, then so does Frieza. Beerus will also have his detached. This is something the purple tabby cat is actually pretty happy to hear. For the longest time, his life depended on others, and he's not really trying to risk that anymore. Granted, it means he'll have to be a mortal and no longer will live forever, but he kinda saw this coming. The Grand Priest would then leave, telling Frieza to meet the other gods and angels at Grand Zeno's palace in exactly 2 Earth weeks. This whole entire conversation kind of leaves Frieza a bit shocked. He wasn't expecting for all of this to happen so fast. Sure, he's had a lot of adventures over his life, but becoming the god of destruction, it's just so daunting, it doesn't even feel real. Wanting to clear his head in preparation for this new position, Frieza decides to head to planet Vegeta, where he would talk to the new king, Trunks. Of course, Frieza would ask about Bulma, how she's been over the last couple of months with Vegeta no longer alive. And sadly, although in a bittersweet moment, Bulma did pass away around the same time Vegeta did, only a little bit later seeing as hers was more of natural causes. They were both in their early 80s, and thus she did have some complications with her health, although nothing that couldn't have been solved normally. Ultimately, she died of a broken heart. But it's not all sad. Trunks chooses to look on the bright side. She left behind a massive legacy for him to live up to, and he's currently in his mid-50s, so as a Saiyan, he has plenty of time to do that. Especially with the potential that comes from being a hybrid, his power is incredible. In fact, it even rivals his father, even if Trunks doesn't have God Ki. But neither of them came here for a fight. Rather, they're more just having a friendly conversation, where Trunks asks what Frieza's been up to after all this time, and he explains that it's a long story, but he's about to become a god of destruction. Trunks asks if that means Uncle Frieza is going to grow purple hair and become a tabby cat with baggy pants, although Frieza says that's not exactly the case. The baggy pants will probably still happen, although he's definitely not going to start looking like Beerus anytime soon. They start joking with each other when suddenly a giant portal begins to open in the sky. Like a tear in the very fabric of the universe itself, people begin to flow through. Or rather just a single person, but with many different key signatures inside of him.
Mortals, sinners, prepare to taste divine justice. Frieza, is that one of your god friends?
Absolutely not, but it feels like Zamasu. We got rid of him years ago. Besides, it looks nothing like him. This must be a Kai from an alternate reality.
You're half right, although I traded out the body of a Kai for something perfect years ago.
We cut to the universe where this version of Zamasu first originated. Cell had proved victorious in his battle against Gohan, killing the preteen warrior and then going on to slaughter the rest of the Z-Fighters. Soon the entirety of Earth followed, and then all of Universe 7. Through training and absorbing strong fighters, Cell became incredibly powerful, and was planning on taking on the entire rest of the multiverse, although eventually Zamasu stopped him. But not by being some heroic warrior that was able to challenge Cell, rather by using the Super Dragon Balls to steal his body. And now, with a perfect body as well as unlimited power, Zamasu was able to kill every single mortal he could get his hands on. Soon the entirety of that multiverse was taken over, every single mortal killed. The gods of destruction followed, and soon even Zeno and the rest of the angels were wished away with the power of Zalama, aka the Super Dragon Balls. And since now there was nobody to stop him, he spread his terror across other timelines. The first one he landed on was, well, this one. Not taking any chances, Frieza powers up into Golden, as well as stacking Ultra Instinct on top. Realizing that this is a very serious matter, Trunks transforms into Super Saiyan 3, a form that he has long since mastered. Trunks would have seemingly finished off the monster utilizing a final flash courtesy of his father and ending the battle with just one attack. Although Zamasu is able to come back, and now even stronger than ever thanks to a Zenkai boost. And now even the Half-Saiyan King is going to have some trouble, but Frieza most definitely wouldn't, jumping in and landing his own one-hit KO. Although I don't mean knockout, I mean kill off. He shoots a Hakai at Zamasu and the monster is completely destroyed. Certainly no body, but also no soul to go to Otherworld with. Trunks is terrified by that technique and is furthermore glad to have Frieza on his side. But as the two power down, they feel other energies spiking around the area. Dark and malicious keys that just continue rising. There's a version of Buu that absorbed Vegito, a version of Kakarot from this very story that won their battle, a version of Goku that was addicted to senzu beans. Wait, who the hell is writing this? Countless different warriors who are imbued with evil energy. They've all come to try and destroy this timeline, although seemingly not of their own volition. Cell Black definitely wanted to come here, which explains why he was the first to arrive, although all these other people seem like they're being controlled, but by who? Frieza and Trunks power up once again, preparing to go into battle, although before they get the chance to defend their home, suddenly they see something that absolutely terrifies the both of them. An evil version of the Grand Priest is standing there, with his hand in the air prepared to destroy everything. Everything around them begins to disappear. The Grand Priest then outstretches his hand yet again and blasts a beam of pure white light at Frieza, who in turn launches a Kamehameha. But rather than launching it right away, he uses the Kai-Kai to teleport behind Daishinken. For the first time in recorded history, the Grand Priest was caught off guard despite utilizing the finest degree of Ultra Instinct, and being smacked in the face with a Hakai-powered Kamehameha, the Grand Priest actually begins to be erased. Despite taking out by far the strongest person there, the others still remain. The Grand Priest wasn't the one enacting all of this, he was just another puppet. Frieza rushes over to Trunks, although he too begins to disappear. After a while, there's nothing left except for Frieza and the people there to try and kill him. Suffice to say, Frieza is absolutely devastated. Everything he's built has been destroyed. Although as he continues trying to fight off against these monsters, suddenly he hears a voice in his head.
Attention hero of timeline 5807. We need your help.